I highlighted this in a few previous videos, but I feel like this is a topic that kind of deserves its own merit, because this is a controversial topic for sure, and it's something that a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans will have endless debates about up until the day of the draft. And this topic right here is trading down. Right now, the Vancouver Canucks are sitting at the 7th overall pick. That's not any new news. But obviously, there was a really big outcry of disappointment and abject sorrow from Vancouver Canucks fans, to say the least. I know I'm kind of exaggerating things a little bit, but that's basically what happened. We were all really sad, frustrated that we didn't get a top 3 pick. Right before the Vancouver Canucks were announced as the 7th overall team, I was begging that it was Detroit that would pop up on the screen, but no, Vancouver ends up with 7th. And now there's this whole debate about trading down. It's very prevalent in certain communities, and there's a lot of different aspects that people are trying to look at when we talk about trading down for the Canucks. Oh, the Edmonton Oilers at number 10, hey, the Islanders at number 11 and 12, what options do we have there? Maybe the Dallas Stars at number 13. What exactly can we do as a team if we're willing to trade down? And should we trade down? Because there's a big argument going around saying, okay, everybody's pissed off that we didn't get a top 3 pick, that's what we wanted a high pick, so now that we're here at 7th, why are we talking about trading down? Doesn't that contradict everything we were saying beforehand? And yeah, that's a totally fair point to make, but the idea here is that the Vancouver Canucks picking 1st, 2nd, or 3rd is completely different from the Vancouver Canucks picking 7th. If we had a lottery pick, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, Dahlin, Svechnikov, Zadina, one of these 3, there's no way we're trading down. Any one of these guys would be a franchise-altering player, and unless we were really keen on taking a defenseman over a forward, we would go 100% with this if we didn't get the 1st overall pick and landed with the 2nd or 3rd. If we grabbed the 1st, that would totally have been best case scenario, Rasmus Dahlin would have sped up the rebuild, yada yada yada. I made a video about that a few months ago. So, what is it now? We're at 7th overall. What's the real difference here? And the real difference here is the uncertainty that we have going forward. We don't know who exactly is going to be available at the 7th overall range, nor do we know who the Vancouver Canucks are thinking of taking. If we were in the top 3, it would be obvious. Dahlin, Svechnikov, Zadina. But we're at 7th. And what we take directly depends on what the other teams before us take. I've said it before. The 7 players that I would have been okay with in this draft, Dahlin, Svechnikov, Zadina, Tkachuk, Wahlstrom, Boqvist, and Hughes. That's 7 players right there, which means that one of these guys will be available when we pick. I want that guy. But if we're in a position where the Vancouver Canucks management isn't all too confident in any of these guys, which is totally a possibility, because you never know with Jim Benning these days, trading down could propose a new aspect on things, and for the most part, trading down would mean that we would grab more stuff. That is the ultimate underlying point here. If the Vancouver Canucks trade down, we get more stuff. And a lot of people would be saying, yeah, but why do we want to do this? In the top 3, we wouldn't have wanted to do this. Why now? Well, that's because Dahlin, Svechnikov, and Zadina are totally in a class of their own. You could argue that Brady Tkachuk belongs there too, but I believe amongst the top 10, he's one of the safer picks, but Dahlin, Svechnikov, and Zadina are even safer than he is. They are in a league of their own. If you're in a position to take these players, you take them. The thing with Boqvist, Hughes, Wahlstrom, Tkachuk, these guys are not necessarily guys that you can place in any order. You can't directly say that one's better than the other in the same way that you can directly say that Dahlin is better than Svechnikov and Zadina. With these 4 players, Boqvist, Hughes, Wahlstrom, and Tkachuk, you could even throw in a Dobson and a Bouchard in there. We don't know the security that there is with these picks, nor do we even know the order in which these guys are going to go to. So, trading down will put the Vancouver Canucks in a position wherein we're still able to get a guy that would be good, any top half-end talent of the 1st round, as well as getting other assets. Because we're the Canucks. We don't have that many defensive prospects. We need to build ourselves up in the smartest way we can. If that means trading down to get a defensive prospect and grabbing, let's say, a Ty Smith or a Kotkaniemi or a Bodie Wild over in the mid-1st round, I'm all for it. Heck, let's face it, Boqvist and Hughes are dropping in the rankings. Maybe they drop down to the mid-first round as well. It's unlikely, but it is possible. Maybe the Vancouver Canucks trade down to the 12 or 13 spot, Dobson and Bouchard get taken right before 10, and the Vancouver Canucks still snag Hughes or Boqvist at that spot that they're at. Who knows? Because the order here is so tainted in terms of everybody's opinions and every GM's projected list that we don't really know what's going to happen. But if we trade down, the one constant that remains is that we get more assets. That is basic. The Vancouver Canucks trading down would still allow us to grab a good player, because this year's draft is deep. Sure, 1, 2, 3, they're out of this world, really good talents, but anything beyond 3, you still got good players, but you don't have the amount of certainty that you do with Svechnikov, Zadina, and Dahlin. Which is why trading down, I believe, is not that bad of a decision to do. If we grab Kotkaniemi with an early teens pick, a preteen pick, that would be great. I said that in my Kotkaniemi video, and it's honestly the same point that you could bring up for Joe Veleno as well, who's also probably going to go a little bit later into the first round. These players are all players that would still be able to make a good NHL impact, and if we grab them, it's not really like we're sacrificing a big skill gap with the guys who would be available at 7th overall. With that being said, however, if the Vancouver Canucks are able to maintain a good amount of voodoo and mumbo-jumbo within the hockey scouting community and still take a Hughes or a Boqvist with a later pick, that would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And we know darn well that the Vancouver Canucks probably have 1, maybe 2 players that they have their eyes on that they really want to pick. This happened last year. Elias Pettersson was the guy that a lot of people proposed that the Vancouver Canucks probably would have taken with the 1st overall pick had they gotten first. But the Vancouver Canucks took him at 5th when he was really projected to go 9th. The reason they didn't trade down the 5th overall pick was because the New York Rangers traded up to 7th, which provided a whole new layer of insecurities, because the Vancouver Canucks kind of had a hunch that the Rangers wanted a Swede. So, instead of trading down to, let's say, 8th or 9th like they originally planned to, they stayed at 5th and took Pettersson, because they knew that if they went beyond the New York Rangers, they wouldn't have gotten their guy. But the point here is, they considered it. They considered trading down while still maintaining the pick that they wanted, and I understand that that's probably a situation that could definitely happen at this year's draft. All it depends on is, well, who the Canucks want. So, whoever it is, a Hughes, a Boqvist, we don't really know. Hughes can go 4th. Hughes can also go 11th. It's really a crapshoot at this point, and by the time the NHL draft does roll around, we will see the true colors of traditional NHL-style drafting coming to play, because I believe that Hughes and Boqvist will drop. I personally don't believe they should, but we've seen it a ton in the past. The small defenseman with the high offensive upside doesn't necessarily get drafted as early as people think they will, and I'm totally expecting that to happen. So to wrap things up, the Vancouver Canucks, because of their position right now, they're in a position to definitely consider trading down while still maintaining a high-quality draft pick. If they had been in the top 3, things would be entirely different, because there's no real benefit to gain in trading away from Dahlin, Svechnikov, or Zadina. But now that we're in the 7th range, in a range where we have no idea who's going to be available to us, things are kind of opened up now, and we're in a position to now say, we're open for business. And this is why I'm okay with thinking about the Canucks trading down. I know it's an entirely different idea that the Vancouver Canucks haven't explored in a long time. We haven't traded down in quite some time. And it's certainly something that a lot of people are debating about overall in Canucks forums, social media, and news articles. So overall, I'm open to it. I am. If you guys aren't, you can comment down below, talk about that yourselves, but I believe that this draft is deep enough to warrant a discussion about this, because if the Canucks traded down, I trust Jim Benning into getting a good pick. And on top of this, the act of trading down would mean that we automatically grabbed ourselves more assets, and this is ultimately a very good thing for our franchise. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. To Plus, and Gaming, and Bye.